C'est la réunion dans une minute.
Welcome to City Council meeting for November 28, 2018.
For those who are able to, would you please rise for a moment of personal reflection and remain standing for the introduction of the singing of the national anthem. It's my pleasure to ask Councillor Blais to introduce our very special guests who are here from St. Clair to sing our national anthem.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. I want to welcome these 20 fine students from St. Clair Elementary School in Orleans. Every month at St. Clair, there is a different gospel value, and by coincidence, this month, the gospel value of community is being celebrated in the school. À cette occasion, le personnel était à la...
On this occasion, staff was looking for students who collaborate with others and who ensure safety in the school. I would like to congratulate these children who have spread the gospel.
The world would be a much better and safer place. One of Canada's most admirable traits as a country is that we do embody the value of community and inclusivity, no matter where we come from or where our originators, our ancestors originated from. These students, all proud Canadians, are representative of today's Canada and today's Orleans. These students' heritages are very unique, from Africa, from Asia, from Latin America, and of course from European descendants as well, and some are even first-generation Canadians. These future leaders have told me that they aspire to be hockey players like Wayne Gretzky, competitive dancers like Karen Kane, Oscar-winning actresses like Anna Paquin, or a doctor like Jane Samil Robertson, who is believed to be the first woman in Canada to perform surgery, or even a famous engineer like Sir Sanford Fleming, and many, many other things. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the grade 6 students of St. Clair Catholic School and their teacher, Lise Corriveau.
Well, thank you very, very much to the students from St. Clair for that wonderful, loud rendition of O Canada on our final City Council meeting of this term. This is a special edition of the Mayor's City Builder Award because of some scheduling challenges. I have the pleasure of presenting this honor to representatives of two outstanding community groups in our city. J'ai l'immense plaisir de décerner la prix.
I have the pleasure of giving out two prizes this morning.
Family and friends of honored guests who are here today, thank you for being with us. And the award recipients being recognized today demonstrate the qualities of a city builder in their own unique way. I'd like to invite Cindy Coots and Jody McComb and Marco, the CFO, to the podium, along with Canada South Councillor. Your Councillor, Alan Hubley, is also a partner with the organization. And is Marco here as well? Here he comes. Hello, Marco. Welcome, Alan. I'm pleased to recognize these individuals for their dedication to community building through their Proud to Be Me initiative that Cindy started 7 years ago. Proud to Be Me raises funds for community resources, organizations, and programs that empower and educate youth while supporting inclusion and anti-bullying. Their mission is to create a community where everyone embraces their own uniqueness and others, where each person can reach their potential and confidently say, "I am proud to be me." Through the organization, Cindy and Jody and Marco have helped to create an environment where empathy, acceptance, responsibility, and opportunity come together to benefit individuals and the entire community. Their dedication and the impact that their organization has on the lives of so many young people in our community is truly an inspiration. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank these residents for their many contributions to the entire community. J'aimerais saisir cette occasion pour remercier.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank Cindy, Judy, and Marco for their many contributions to the community and the entire city.
Present these fine citizens with the Mayor's City Builder Award. Congratulations. Come on up here and we'll take a picture.
I'm not a public speaker, so bear with me, but I want to take this opportunity to thank Councillor Hubley and our Honourable Mayor Jim Watson. Besides receiving this award today, Proud to Be Me, they have been great supporters. So one member who's missing today, Sherry Lynn Lawson, is another big contributor of our board. We're very proud of the work we do. It's citywide. We provide grants for all schools, so please encourage within your schools to apply. Anything that empowers youth to be the best versions of themselves so that they can grow up to maybe one day be counselors or whatever they're meant to be. So once again, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. It does take a village to make change, and we are very proud to have you guys a part of our village. Thank you.
Congratulations. I'm very happy also to present the Mayor's City Builder Award to this next group that has touched so many lives and has done so many great things in our community. I'm pleased to welcome representatives of the Billings Bridge Pacesetters Walking Club to come forward, along with their City Councillor, David Chernyshchenko. So if we can invite our wonderful Pacesetters to come forward. Welcome, bienvenue. Je suis ravi d'accueillir les représentants de
I'm pleased to welcome representatives of the Billings Bridge Pacesetters Walking Club. Le Club Pacesetters
a knitting club for seniors. Le Club Pacesetters est un groupe social qui se compose.
It's a social group that includes a walking and knitting club for seniors.
In significant clinical research projects on osteoarthritis, and they support many great causes in our community. The club was nominated by 3 professors at the School of Rehabilitation Sciences at the University of Ottawa for their contributions to research on osteoarthritis. Members are recognized for their role in improving the quality of life of older adults and for helping older adults to enjoy active, social, and rewarding lives. Grâce à ces activités, ces membres
Because of these activities, members can be active socially
researchers to evaluate and improve walking programs for older individuals with osteoarthritis of the knee. More recently, with financial support from Physiotherapy Foundation of Canada, the Knitting Club partnered with researchers in a study on knitting as a promising pain self-management strategy for older persons. In addition to their contributions to research, the club is recognized for their generous contributions to CHEO, the Snowsuit Fund, and St. Patrick's Home. Over the past 25 years, they have provided toques and mittens to the Snowsuit Fund, and they've donated hundreds of beautiful wool blankets to elderly residents and to sick children being admitted to CHEO. This is truly a heartwarming story, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to recognize club members for their amazing volunteerism and their dedication to enhancing the lives of younger and older citizens. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Pacesetters for their many contributions to the community, and it's now my pleasure to present the Mayor City Builder Award on behalf of your Councillor David Chernyshenko to your club. Congratulations, keep up the great work. Come on in here, we'll come up a little forward. Stand up. Here we go. There we go. Make sure we get everyone. Yeah. Great. Okay, you're going to say a few words on just right. I just put that down.
Good morning, Mayor Watson and members of the City Council. First, I would like to thank Lucy Brosseau for recommending the Pacesetters Walking Club, and we are happy to be here at City Hall today. The Billingsbridge Plaza Pacesetters Walking Club, that's our full title, is a volunteer-run organised walking group with a room in the basement of the Billingsbridge office tower. We meet every weekday, 7:30 to 10 a.m. Our room in the basement is a place to socialise, to have coffee, and there are also places to work on jigsaw puzzles or read. We have a take-out library too. The Knitting Club meet there regularly, making lovely blankets for patients in our hospitals and retirement homes. Last year, the club celebrated its 25th anniversary, and annual registration takes place in September. The fee is $10. However, registration is ongoing and you can join any time. For more information, you are welcome to drop in and get to know us or call us at 613-521-6740. Thank you.
Bravo. Good sales pitch. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Nice to see you.
You can go to our
Congratulations.
Thank
you very much. Nice to meet you all. Oops. I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Andy Hayden, the first mayor of the City of Nepean, for this presentation marking the 40th anniversary of the incorporation of the City of Nepean. Please welcome Mr. Andy Hayden. Come on up, Andy. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you. I'd also like to welcome up the members who represent all or parts of Nepean, Jan Harder, Rick Shirelli, Keith Eglai, Mark Taylor, and I believe Councillor Moffat has a part of Nepean, and Councillor Kakish.
That's half the council.
I know. Nepean rules.
Why don't we have more things? Where have I let you down?
You never let me down, my friend.
On November 24th, 1978, the City of Nepean was incorporated. Today, we mark the 40th anniversary of this former municipality and celebrate the enduring contributions of Nepean to the character and the strength of our capital city. The City of Nepean flag flies in front of the Heritage Building today, and I have the honor of proclaiming Nepean Heritage Day in Ottawa in just a moment. I want to note that the painting representing the City of Nepean by Ben Babalowski is right over beside a beautiful portrait of Andy Hayden. And this is a reflection of Nepean's strong sense of civic pride and community building. As we celebrate this special anniversary, I want to commend the leaders of the former municipality and our present-day representatives for your service to our community. Mary Pitt, who was the last mayor of Nepean, is not able to be here, but I believe Councillor Shirelli is going to speak on her behalf. So I'd like to ask Andy Hayden, who's been a great contributor. I always enjoy when I'm with Andy and I introduce him to someone and their eyes light up. Andy Hayden Park. Yes. They always think of Andy because that beautiful park in the West End.
I have to share it with the geese.
I know a lot of geese in there. I know it very well. Andy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. My dear bride, Sherry, could not be here this morning. She had a pre-scheduled appointment. She sends her regrets because she's been a big part of Nepean all by herself. But 40 years ago, a reeve of a township became a mayor of a city. As you know, the position of reeve is a historic Scottish name for an honorable leader. Changing to a mayor brings to bear the question as to whether it's a promotion or a demotion. All kidding aside, I was the first mayor of the new city of Nepean, indeed a historic honor, but only for 6 days. I hold the record for being the shortest time in office for a mayor of any city in the world. Success is measured by not how long you've been in office, but rather what have you accomplished in that time frame. In that context, don't forget the Israelis won a war in 6 days. Nepean was established in 1792 by the creation of the county system, and until the 1950s, the area west of Preston Street was part of Nepean. History will record the Preston Hotel was called the Last Chance, by virtue that Ottawa was wet and Nepean was dry, so the hotel was the last chance to get a beer. Anyway, so the bond between the city of Ottawa and the municipality of Nepean is almost 230 years old. Few marriages last that long, eh? The Nepean Sportsplex opened up a new vision for recreational facilities in North America. And the doctrine of pay-as-you-go resulted in Nepean being the only city in North America to be debt-free, which continued under the inspired leadership of the next two mayors, namely Ben Franklin and Mary Pitt, who unfortunately cannot be here. And so we all look forward with both expectations and confidence with Mayor Watson and his colleagues on council. As you know, or may not know, my hobby is studying history, and I have become very proficient in that field. So history has become an essential part of human and community development. In that context, I would be terribly remiss if I did not congratulate Mayor Watson and his colleagues on council for not only recognizing the importance of history, because that's what's so critical in this world today, in defining a community, but taking the necessary steps to keep history alive as you are so doing today. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
That was great. Well said. Thank you, Andy Hayden, very, very much. And you know, when the council named this chamber after you, we forgot to tell you have to pay the property taxes on this. So we'll send you a bill, okay?
The former mayor relinquished that.
Yeah, that's right. I now ask Councillor Rick Shirelli to speak. As you know, Mary Pitt is not able to be with us today. I spoke with her a few days ago, and she very much regrets not being able to be here, but she's asked her friend and her councillor, Rick Shirelli, to say a few words. So, Rick?
Okay, so this is written by Mary, and it's a statement about today and about Nepean. In 1792, the township of Nepean came into existence. It was the oldest surveyed municipality in eastern Ontario, surviving a couple of annexations of territory by the former city of Ottawa. We kept alive through spirited actions of our civic leaders. That included the legendary middle of the night under cover of darkness repatriation of our beloved Nepean bell, from the front of the former Nepean Town Hall in Westboro. The municipality, yeah, that's true. The municipality of family and fortitude, we grew and we prospered. In 1978, in November, we became the city of Nepean. Reeve Andy Hayden became the first mayor of Nepean and served for 6 days before becoming chair of the regional municipality of Ottawa-Carleton. Mayor Hayden was author of our pay-as-you-go policy, which employed legendary financial discipline and that resulted in healthy reserve funds. Ben Franklin continued the policy, and in 1988, our new City Hall, now Ben Franklin Place, was built with its own refrigerated skating rink, central library, municipal theater, administrative offices, meeting spaces, council chamber, and it all opened fully paid for and debt-free. We maintained a very high level of local services. In fact, one columnist once remarked that our snow clearing standards were so stringent that he was convinced we sent around trucks to catch the flakes before they hit the ground. Several years later, Ben invited all of Nepean out to a special ceremony where we burned the final mortgage and announced Nepean was debt-free. I was fortunate to follow Andy and Ben and become mayor in 1997 until 2001, when we became amalgamated with the City of Ottawa. It was a great honor to contribute to and serve the entire Nepean family, and we really are a family. Nepean, it's always a wonderful place to be in.
So I'll now ask for a copy of the proclamation that Councillor Harder. I want to thank Jan very much. Jan instigated this whole event, and we very much appreciate her bringing to our attention this historic and significant date. So I'll just read it very briefly. Whereas November 24th, 2018 marked the 40th anniversary of the incorporation of the City of Nepean, whereas Nepean's settlement and developments in the early 1800s contributed to the building of the Rideau Canal and the establishment of Bytown, later becoming Ottawa, whereas the former municipality is now home to the most populous neighborhoods in Ottawa, including Westboro, Centertown, South Keys, Barrhaven, and Bell's Corners, and whereas Nepean's strong sense of civic pride and community building have contributed to the character of this capital, par conséquent, je, Jim Watson, maire de la ville.
Consequently, I am Jim Watson, Mayor of Ottawa, proclamate November 24th, 1918.
I proclaim November 24th, 2018, Nepean Heritage Day in Ottawa. Happy birthday, Nepean.
Thank you.
Come on up and we'll picture in the front. Andy, come on up, everyone. So we'll just ask Councillor Harder to say a few words.
Actually, thank you, Mayor. Daryl Bartraw emailed me a few weeks ago and said, hey, what are we going to do for the 40th birthday of Nepean? And so it was imminent. It was the 24th, which was last Saturday. And so I contacted Mayor Watson. I said, you know, do you think that at the nearest council meeting that we could do something for Nepean? He said, of course, sure, it's a great idea. And so I contacted Mary Pitt and certainly and Andy and Sherry, and everybody thought it was a great idea. And I look around the room today and I see so many people that were part of Nepean. Certainly David Rattray and Marion are both recipients of the Order of Ottawa, not at the same time, which is even more remarkable, I would say. But, you know, I look at Rick Fleming, who was the chair of the Ottawa Parks and Rec for 2 terms, was it, Rick? 2, and also was on Nepean Parks and Rec, as was Tom O'Neill, and Tom's infamous, and you know, most people know Tom. And if I look at people in the audience, that like Don Herwire and people like John Manconi and Derek here? a whole bunch of people that worked at Nepean and are very proud today of the memories that we have. So thanks for today. Thanks for letting us share our pride and fly our flag. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, everybody.
Our final presentation. It's with mixed emotions that we take the time to recognize 7 of our colleagues and friends. Je tiens à remercier 7 conseillers sortants.
It's with mixed emotions that we take a time today to recognize 7 of our colleagues and friends.
7 outgoing city councillors who are devoted to serving our community. Deputy Mayor Bob Manette, Councillor Jody Minich, and Jody, it's great to see you back. Thank you very much for being with us today. Councillor Marianne Wilkinson, Councillor Shad Qadri, Deputy Mayor Mark Taylor, Councillor David Chernyshenko, and Councillor Michael Kakish. Each of these councillors is to be commended for their years of community service and dedication to making our city a better place in which to live, work, play, and visit. In addition to ward-specific initiatives, they have all been involved with a number of citywide important transformative projects. Projects like the O-Train Confederation Line LRT system, the Lansdowne Park revitalization, record investments in pedestrian and cycling infrastructure, park and community center renewals, the welcoming of Syrian refugee families, the Ottawa River Action Plan, the Ottawa Art Gallery, the Innovation Center, more affordable housing, and many other important initiatives. I'm honored to present each of these councillors with a special gift recognizing their hard work and their commitment to making Ottawa the wonderful city it is today. J'ai l'honneur aujourd'hui de présenter chaque.
I have the honor to present each of the councillors with a special gift that recognizes their hard work.
Our city photographers, Phil Renault and Chris Bricker, for the creativity and work that they have put into this project that you will see just in a moment. Thank you, Phil and Chris. Now I'd like our city manager, Steve Kanellakis, to come forward to help with the presentations. Welcome, bienvenue. Our first recipient is Deputy Mayor Bob Manette, representing Orleans Ward. Deputy Mayor Manette, if you could come forward, please. Well done. Do you want to put that? We can put that right here. Deputy Mayor Manette was first elected to Ottawa City Council as a councillor for Orleans Ward in a by-election in January 2006. Le maire suppléant Manette a été élu.
Deputy Mayor Manette was first elected to Ottawa City Council as councillor for Orleans Ward in a by-election in January 2006.
Experience in local politics, as he had previously served on Cumberland Township Council as councillor for Queenswood Heights from 1985 to 1991. An avid sports fan, Deputy Mayor Manette was instrumental in bringing CFL football as well as professional baseball back to Ottawa, and he was the champion of the Lansdowne Park revitalization program. He also supported economic development in the city's East End, particularly Orleans, with the arrival of companies such as Oakwood, the introductions of the Orleans and St. Joseph Boulevard community improvement plans, and the construction of the beautiful Schenkman Arts Center, which is a vibrant hub in the community. One of his proudest moments is that he's been a strong voice in the city's goal to clean up the Ottawa River through initiatives like the Ottawa River Action Plan. Today, we are presenting Deputy Mayor Manette with a photo of a sunset at Petrie Island. Deputy Mayor Manette and his wife Pat, who's been by his side this entire journey, enjoys going there for walks in the evening as well as attending numerous festivals which he has helped to establish on this picturesque island in the heart of our city. This photo depicts a special spot for them. Bob, thank you very, very much for your years of service, and as you know, as Deputy Mayor, that's an added burden. A lot of different events and meetings that you have to attend on my behalf, and it's very much appreciated. So you've been a true gentleman, and we'll miss you much. Take care. Come on out here.
the mayor mentioned I can say a few words, and I'm quite honored to do so. I very seldom use my 5 minutes, so I think this time it might be a bit more than 5 minutes, so please bear with me. Okay, very proud to have served with 5 mayors in the City of Ottawa, Mayor Peter Clark, Mayor Brian Coburn, Mayor Bob Shirelli, Mayor Larry O'Brien, and Mayor Jim Watson. Proud to have served 6 mandates, 1985, 88, 2006 by-election, 2006, 9 months later again, 2010, and 2014. The role of an elected city official is very important, and as we look in the room, we see many people that are returning, see some that will be coming onto the new council. One thing that's important is that you're able to work with city managers, because the city managers that we have around the table there are an amazing crew. They will do everything to their best to find solutions and make things happen for you. Anybody who criticizes any workers in the City of Ottawa, I think that's a bunch of crap, because we have the best workers in the city. Also pleased to have worked with HR. HR is a very important part, and they help you along through your mandates. Rick O'Connor, Andrew Lomas, previously Leslie Donnelly, Christine Parson, and Pierre Pagé. Also, one thing that's very important is new city councillors is to work with the mayor and the mayor's staff. They're the ones that are able to make things happen when you approach them. Major files are going to be happening for the incoming council. Marijuana legislation. We want to figure out where are these storefronts going to be. Are they going to be near schools? Are they going to be near parks? Are they going to be near community centers? That is something that this council will have to deal with. LRT. LRT, you cannot start new processes. We have worked very hard as a team, as a unit, to ensure, like the mayor always said, that the LRT goes as far east, west, south, and now even talking about north. And yes, you can expand it and you can make it go quicker. An example is the West End councillors, what they were able to do in the last 2 mandates. If we all remember, LRT was to be a 2 dispatcher in the first phase. Then we extended it to Bayshore. Then we extended it to Moody. All of those were extra extensions because of the hard work of the West End councillors, and congratulations for that. LeBreton Flats will also be a very important file. There's a bit of controversy right now, but I encourage everybody to work together and make this happen. Because LeBreton Flats is more than just a housing development. It is the last piece of land that we have in the City of Ottawa that has major consequences for the future of our city. I was proud to work on city issues, as the mayor mentioned, Lansdowne, Ottawa River Action Plan, and it's very satisfying to read in the papers recently when they're talking about sewage problems being in the province of Ontario, where raw sewage is going into the river. What you see at this council is we have taken action, and we ensured that 95% of the raw sewage does no longer go into the Ottawa River. So as leadership of this council and previous councils, we were able to make that happen, and I was pleased to be involved with that. Another one was auxiliary policing. I remember Vince Bevan, the chief at that time. I think I had just started 1 week into my role as a newly elected councillor. And I told Vince, or the chief, I said, I'd like to have a meeting with you to discuss auxiliary policing. And he told me, well, it'll never happen. And I told him, well, I don't take no for an answer. Today we do have auxiliary policing. Discarded needles. Discarded needles is something that citywide is not only a downtown issue. I remember working with Councillor Qadri, Councillor Eli Chanteri. when they came with buckets full of discarded needles and said something needs to be done. 3 suburban councillors were able to rectify that problem and make it go away. Baseball stadium, everybody remembers it was mothballed. Why would you mothball the stadium? I remember talking to staff and they said, oh, it'll cost $100,000 to open up that stadium. And I said, no, it doesn't have to cost $100,000. That stadium can be used for kids. That stadium can be used for men's rec leagues. We're able to work it out for that. We opened it up for $15,000. Local achievements, quickly I'll go through them. Trim line realignment had to be done, $60 million. LRT to Orleans, 2022, that's $3.1 billion of investment. So anybody that says that the East does not get a share, maybe start looking at how much we were able to get the LRT. Improve recreational facilities such as Bob Macquarie, Ray Friel, Cardinal Creek, Petrie Island. Services were never there before. Today we have services, lifeguard, washrooms, FOPI, canoe and kayak clubs, and bananas on the beach. We're able to get 2 hotels located in Orleans. Some of the people from across Ottawa might say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, Orleans is a population of 130,000 population. We're looking at a community that is the size of Kingston, and we never had a hotel facility. When the owner came to see me, he asked me, how do we make this happen? Because I want to locate in Orleans. And I said, we will make it happen. We set up meetings with managers and we moved it forward. Festivals. Never had a festival in Orleans. Why is that important? That is important because we create economic development. We create pride in our community, and we create an area where residents can go and enjoy their evenings without having to leave our community. Rib Fest, Craft Beer Festival, Caravive, Poutine Fest, just examples of festivals we have had.
It's really an honor to have served here in French with Mayor Watson and the council in Ottawa. There was some great improvement in the service quality offered from 2006 till today. I'm also very proud to have worked with SOPO to preserve the Francophone heritage in Ontario. For instance, the Saint Joseph Parish that held a collection of funds. So I urge you to support them. I'm proud to have been one of the councillors who was present for the inauguration of MIFO Orleans, and I hope that the expansion project becomes a reality. That will be the next mandate.
Strong Francophone that has a strong multicultural roots. And we have started a multicultural association. We have started the local mosque, which we never had in the community. All of that was paid for by the members of the Muslim community. Proud supporter of local sports, yes. And people might ask, why are you so proud of being involved in local sports? That creates an identity for your community. That creates pride to your community. And that creates economic development. Congratulations to our Ottawa Red Blacks. 3 Grey Cups in 4 years. Last year they were in Ottawa. Look at the economic benefits that it provides. Look at people from across Canada, from the United States coming into your city. This year, it was televised not only in Canada, the States, but Mexico. What type of economic benefit is that to our city? So, going back to the Friends of Lansdowne who said, CFL is a joke and no benefit to Ottawa, well, I think this proves them wrong again. Champions, they've been a great organization and hopefully they succeed for many years to come. It was great to bring professional baseball back. The Sens, I hope that they are able to move forward in a positive fashion and get location at LeBreton Flats. Ottawa Fury and Minor Sports, I support all of them. As a councillor, you are responsible for everyday life and the closest level to government for residents. Do not use your time as a vocal opposition. Use your time to challenge, use your time to improve your community, and use your time to make the community better. Create your own legacy. Create your own style. Your role impacts the majority of Ottawa residents. Take it seriously and speak out when you do not agree or do not agree, but do so in a proactive fashion. You are the ones who can vote and affect change. I always relate to a story of one of my first trips out of the country. When I was on the plane returning at night, I looked out the window and saw Ottawa in the vast territory, lights that was lit up. I came to the realization that night that every one of those homes that you see from the plane are affected with the decisions that you make at City Council. And they're affected with the decisions that you make around the table. I would like to thank all local media that I've found always fair, and sometimes tough, but fair. I will say, however, John Welling does need improvement with his photos ops. Okay, the toughest one. And I'd like to thank my staff. Henry Gravel, 12 years, community outreach. Michelle Laundrie, constituency assistant, 10 years. My 2-week temp, Cynthia Morgan, I'm assistant for over 10 years. Pulling a mess here, messy. Cynthia. Cynthia was amazing. Family, Pat, 42 years of marriage, put up with all this stuff. Ron, Rick, Joanne, Benedict, my daughter-in-law, grandchildren, Pesa, Tama, and Jacob. Okay, now I leave, and I look forward to Saturday morning waking up and starting the longest long weekend of my life. Thank you.
Now I see why the clerk's office put this in the podium. Bob, thank you. Thanks very much. Our next recipient is Councillor Jody Minich, representing Innisward. Jody, if you could come forward, please. Welcome. Thanks. Councillor Minich was elected to Ottawa City Council in the 2014 municipal election, and he served as our city's first ever sports commissioner during his time on council. Over the past term of council, one of the priorities of the city's economic development plan was the Bid More, Win More, Host More initiatives to attract more major sporting and cultural events to our city. We have recently been successful in this goal, and I want to thank Councillor Minich for his leadership. Councillor Minich was also a strong supporter of the Miracle League of Ottawa baseball field initiative located in his ward. The Miracle League of Ottawa is located in Notre-Dame-des-Champs, is a fully accessible baseball diamond specifically designed for children with physical or mental disabilities, and was one of the first of its kind in Eastern Ontario, something we can be very, very proud of. Today, we are presenting Councillor Minich with a photo of the Miracle League field that he is so proud of and that we officially opened a few years ago. Jody, thank you for all of your service, not just to Ottawa, but also to your country as a distinguished member of the armed forces and a veteran who went out and fought for our freedom and our democracy. You'll be missed, Jody.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
let's get the picture.
Where is it? That's awesome. In the light. Bump. Hold on. I think he's overpaid for that job. Thanks, Mayor, City Manager, everyone. I didn't prepare anything to say, so I'll probably take 3 times as long as Deputy Mayor Manette. But I want to thank everybody here, all the staff, all my colleagues. I was posted to Ottawa in 2009 with the military right after I got wounded, but I've been stomping through Ottawa since the early 2000s. As a young soldier, I skulked through Vanier and prowled through the market looking for fun. And I'm from Southern Ontario. I was born in Kitchener. And Ottawa and Kitchener are very similar. They're both on rivers, and they both have twin cities, and they both have the spirit, that small town with big city dreams. And I'll be honest, when I first moved here, I was very focused on staying in the military. And something about the 2010 municipal election caught my eye, and it was this council in 2010 then to 2014 that made me realize municipal politics is the most important set of politics we have in our democracy. A fellow soldier and veteran, Matt, over there, just got elected to the council as to replace Deputy Mayor Manette. He's going to do a good job, and our jobs in the military are yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. That's our way of saying we get the job done. And this council gets the job done. Under Mayor Watson, we went from the sleepy little capital to a town that right now is dreaming of, $5 billion development down in help me out. LeBreton Flats, that's it, sorry. and it makes me proud and excited. We have an LRT that's developing economic development out in the East End that we wouldn't have seen without it. Without the track going to Trim Road, there wouldn't be the condos that are springing up. There wouldn't be the mixed use along Innes Road. This is what the city needs. We're 1 million people, but we're spread out. We're bigger than Detroit, Michigan, and it's hard to deliver services, but this council does it. And I was proud to work with them, and I mentored under Jan Harder and Marion over there that sat next to me and made sure to scold me when the time was right, and Bob Manette to tell me when I was doing wrong, and it was a real privilege. I'm actually really excited about the next 4 years of my life because for the first time ever, I'm going to be Mr. Minich. For 20 years, I was private corporal, master corporal, and then I was councillor, and I haven't had a chance to be myself. And I know that sounds corny, right? A little bit of too much feng shui maybe, or self-awareness, but this is the important time for me. And I want to thank you all once again. I'm very proud. I'm very humbled to be here in this room and to be amongst these great Canadians, because it's a small group of people that can wear the T-shirt that says I've been on Ottawa City Council. And last, I want to thank my family that's here with me this morning. Whoa. I didn't sleep well last night, if you can't tell. My mother, who's always been there, raised me to the man I am. Sam, my future stepdaughter. Ayla, my oldest. Say hi, Ayla. Kira, my youngest, and my Spitfire, my beautiful partner, Kelly, her mom, Elaine, and my friend, Jeff, who's supported me through my difficult moments that I've had over the last year. And you guys have all supported me as well. And I want to close on that and say that I'm working on some things, and I'm going to be working even harder to get better and come back even stronger. As I told the mayor when I announced that I wasn't running again, I'm not going away. I'll still be around, and I still hope to be an active participant and productive member of the Ottawa citizens that make this city the greatest city in Canada. Thanks.
Our next recipient is Councillor Marianne Wilkinson, representing Canada North Ward. If Councillor Wilkinson would come forward, please. Welcome, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Wilkinson won her first municipal election as a councillor in March Township in 1969. In 2018, Councillor Wilkinson is in her incredible 29th year in public office, which includes 9 years as head of council, as first Reeve of March Township, and then as the first mayor of Canada. So we have the first mayor of Nepean here and the first mayor of Canada. And at the same time, Councillor Wilkinson was also a member of the council for the regional municipality of Ottawa-Carleton, including 6 years as chair of the Regional Planning Committee. Throughout her time on Ottawa City Council, Councillor Wilkinson has worked on a number of files, including roles on the Transportation Committee, IT Committee, Transit Commission, Ottawa Public Housing, and the Ottawa Public Library Board. As one of the first residents of the town of Canada, Councillor Wilkinson has always been very involved in the area's growth and development, both as an elected official and as a volunteer. She has been a strong advocate for the growth of the Canada North Business Park, which has developed into one of the premier technology parks in Canada. Councillor Wilkinson has also been one of the most effective leaders at encouraging women to enter the field of politics. Today, we have the honor of thanking Councillor Wilkinson, and she tells me she's not retiring. She is,
going back into doing community work.
Going back into do community work. So you'll all be hearing Councillor Wilkinson on line 1 for the next 4 years. She's still full of energy and enthusiasm, and we saw that at the wonderful tribute to you, Marianne, at the Brook Street last week, where hundreds came out to support you and to say thank you for a job very well done. Congratulations. Félicitations. That's right. Sorry, I forgot. It's the picture of the beaver pond, the beautiful beaver pond, which Marianne is so proud of. Come on up here
a little bit. Thank you, Jim. And I met with Jim a couple weeks ago, and I had a list of 14 items for him to do the next term. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but I have given the list to Jenna, so she will keep on track of them. And I know that you will be doing them because I'll be watching. And Andy, I want to remind you of one thing. You know why you were mayor for 6 days? You didn't like the fact that Canada had just been passed by legislation and made a city, so it was going to have a mayor starting on the beginning of December, and you decided Nepean had to have, you told me that, Nepean had to have a mayor before Canada, and you did it. So we were we worked together a lot, Andy and I, over those years as on regional council and as well, and but we always bitched with each other, and some of the stories I'm going to write, because that's one of the things I'm going to do, is write the stories of Canada that haven't been told yet. Not the whole history, because I couldn't do that, but some of them involve Andy, and he may or may not like what I say, but I'm going to say it anyway, Andy. I'll let you read it. I think that would be a great idea. I've had a long career, as you have heard, and it is because we weren't planning to move to Canada when we came back to Ottawa. Ottawa was my hometown. We came back, my mother was here, and we were looking for houses. And somebody mentioned Canada. We said, we'll take a look at it. So we left our 2 little ones we had at the time at my mother, and we drove out to Canada, and we just fell in love with the community, with what they were doing. There was no town there. There wasn't even a house there. Canada is 100% a planned community. And Taran had brought 3,000 acres of land together and done a plan for a whole city. I taught urban studies at high school, and here I saw a plan for a city of 60,000 people with everything you need in a city, when there was only a few houses there. And that imagination just grabbed us, and we met there. And 12 days after we moved in, the president of the Community Association came calling, because at that time the Community Association ran all the recreation programs. It was a tiny township. They had 4 staff. And so they asked me if I'd become a cluster director in the new area. And that's how I got started. And it just, one thing led to another. I got elected the year later. I had a 5-year-old just starting kindergarten, and I had a 2.5-year-old who was like all 2-year-olds, and I had a new baby who was 4 months old on election day. And I had a very surprised husband. And Bob is here today with me here. We've been married now for 57 years, and he's probably put up with more than any other husband ever should, but he stood beside me the whole time, and he's helped out in so many different ways, and especially with the children when they were younger. He was a teacher, so in the summer he was able to be with them more if I was busy and things like that. So I have a lot of interesting stories to tell about how we got the daycare center going and how I met some of the most important business people in Ottawa in the early 70s, and they were talking together, and I was sent there because I was off. The other council members were at work in the daytime. And I only had a half-time job, so I had the afternoons. And they were talking about how terrible it was that women would go out to work and leave their children and not look after them, etc. And I looked at them after a few minutes. I hadn't said anything. I said, you know, if the mother looks after her children, then she's doing her job as a mother. I suddenly realized I had preschoolers at home, and I was there at the meeting with them. And I think it started to help to get things. And the first municipal daycare center in all of Ottawa area was in Canada, because the Canada people felt they should provide that kind of service. And so we did a lot of things we knew. We had the first municipal business park in 1970. And we got that because we wanted to get more development going, because one of the things we wanted to do is make sure that people who grew up there could get jobs there. And I started to kids that grew up in Canada, went to high school with my kids all the time, and they're back living in Canada and working in Canada. So it really worked. In the business park right now, I'll tell you, there's a new report coming out in a week or so that's going to blow your mind away. It is not just the largest technology park in Canada, it's the most important one. And the work they're doing there is at the very top of technology. And it's actually so busy now that we can't get to work, and that's the problem I have to talk with Mr. Manconi about. Because the only place in the Queensway in the morning rush hour where the cars are backed up, way backed up on the Queensway, is getting off onto March Road, not downtown. And that's happened in the last 2 years, really, that's gotten that bad, because it's growing so much very recently. And the city's good at doing things, but not quickly. And sometimes you do have to respond, and we're going to be working together to see what we can do to do that. And I'm sorry, John, that I got myself onto a little committee that's going to keep working on that. And the other things that are doing, one of the things that I mentioned to the mayor and to the city manager is they are not very good about benefits for city councillors. We're all treated just like staff. And so when I turned 69, I had to take my pension. So for my 29 years of service, 21 of which I was eligible for the pension that's here, I get $252 a month. Because most of it was a few years I was on regional council. And the OMERs wouldn't deal with it. Even when they increased it just two years later, they wouldn't let me add to it. And I think it's something that the city should take up, that they should have. The council members are not the same as elected as staff members. They don't have the same timing, and there should be provisions, because we have some councillors that are going to be as old as I am now in a few years if they keep on getting elected, and they should be there for them. And there's things like this that the city has not really come to grips with, because life has changed. We live longer, we can do more at a longer time, and we should do more because it helps to keep you young and helps to keep you active if you're out doing things. So that was on the list, but that's only one of 14. I just think that this city is actually a very good city, though. I don't always agree with what's happening, but I do work hard to try to make it happen. I spent a lot of time on Lansdowne before you were elected, back when we were trying to do the waterfall, and with the city manager of the day and all, and with the OSED people, because I could see there's some issues. I was very concerned about future cost to the city, and that you have to do things so that you don't get that. And so I was actually pulled out the day we were voting on it, because I had questioned some things to get some things changed in the agreements. They're not perfect even today, but they certainly are a lot better than they might have been. And I'm one of the few people who understands the waterfall that they put in there. I was able to get some facilities in my community that we badly needed. We hadn't had a new recreation center since the early 70s, and the population was rather larger. And we got the new recreation center at Richcraft, which has been ideal. Very, very busy place. And I'm still raising money for other things there. I raised $1 million to add things into that with a small group of residents. We worked together on that. And then we got the Beaverbrook Library, which also was really overcrowded and very busy. It was a small library, but it was the second busiest in Ottawa. And so we got an addition onto that, a beautiful addition, and it's been really well received by the community. We also have the Mille Lacs Centre, which was built in the 70s. One of the things about buildings, like the city keeps saying they have a life expectancy about 40 years or something. They don't have to. If you maintain them and look after them, they can last a lot longer. And that building has been well maintained. They've done the things that are needed to keep it going, and it could go for another 40 years. It's not as nice looking as some new buildings maybe, but I think we have to start looking at how we can, by doing proper maintenance and operations, which we've talked about a lot, that you can actually make things last longer, including roads. I have some that need to get done, John. And buildings, and even operations, how we can streamline them so things go well. And that's sort of one of the challenges is continuing here. And there's been a lot of work done on that already. And the new arrangement of the management system is one I think that's very beneficial in that way. And I'd like to thank all the city managers, most of which are here and have to put up with us every couple of weeks, for the help they've done in trying to make things happen. They'll meet with you, they'll talk with you, they'll come out and meet with the public when it's a serious issue, and that's important. Now, I have the best ward in the city because I have the most variety. I have the only provincially significant wetland in an urban area, and the Bigger Pond is part of that. And it has lots of wildlife. It's a beautiful area. You wouldn't know by looking at that. There are houses just behind those trees. You can keep nature even when you've got building going on. I have the largest technology park in Canada and really important economy for the city of Ottawa, not only the taxes they pay, but the jobs they give, and they're well-paid jobs. I have very interesting residential areas, and people who are we have a very high education level because of the high tech, and they are not afraid to ask things. A lot of them are engineers, and they lay it out very clearly. And that's why we have very strict rules about blasting, because I have a lot of rock. And we also have a mosquito program, because that's what the people wanted. And you take something that they want, you try to make it work. And that's, I think, what I challenge other councils for in your own areas. Every area is different, but the people are generally the same. They have the similar needs. Some have more. I like to see the Cowie is here. They bring forward so many things about the needs of people who have lower incomes or lower education levels, and those are ones we have to service as well. And we have those in every community, including mine. And one of the things I'll be working on is a new housing development for supportive housing that I've found some land for. So that's another issue we can get doing. So at the end, I want to thank my staff for the work. Tracy and Linda are here. They put together this event last week we had at the Brook Street Hill. We had, I think it was 370 people, or almost 400 people there. From all different areas where I've had connection with people. It was fantastic that way. And they kept hidden from me a few things that were going to happen, but that's beside the point. But everybody had a good time, which I think is the important thing. And what I wanted to use that as a springboard to saying, that they called it moving on. Because I'm not retiring, as you said. I'm moving on to do other things. And they're very much community things, but I have some things that are going to be happening even at the national level. I've been asked to work on something that will help municipalities across the country with an organization that once it's formulated, I'll let you know about. But you may see me around here telling you what to do that way, but you can't. But I do want to thank all the members of the public that come out as well. And the public in my own area that don't very often get here because they're at work, and it's a long way, and the traffic is awful. I will not miss the traffic. Getting here can sometimes be a major challenge. But they tell me things. They send me emails, they make suggestions, they make criticisms, and all the rest of it. But that's what makes you able to do your job. Because I told people, if you don't tell me, I can't do anything about it. And so many of them do. It makes a lot of extra work for my staff too, who help in getting the results. But I keep in contact with what they say, because then I'm able to make changes that happen over time. And some of them, when I can't, I just tell them when I can't, because you can't promise something if you can't deliver. So that's long enough for me to speak today. I think I went over my 5 minutes of it already. But you'll be seeing from me again. And I really want to thank the mayor and the city manager, and all my colleagues as well, who've put up with me over a number of different things, but also supported me in a number of ways when things needed to get done, and they see the need for it. This is a great council for doing that, and I'm sure the new council will be as well. And Jenna, you've got my list of 14 items already, so you know how to get started. And I've been meeting with Jenna and going over her background. Last night at my last town hall meeting, I made a list of all the things that are underway. I had 18 different housing developments for about 9,000 housing units. And there were 14 of the commercial and industrial buildings that are underway now too. Those are the ones that are already in the pike. And so you can. I didn't want to give it to her too early because she might not have run. But there it is. it is, you're going to have a lot of fun because there's a lot of interesting things there. Thank you.
She hasn't changed a bit. Thank you, Marianne. Our next recipient is Councillor Qadri, representing Stittsville Ward. Councillor Qadri, if you could please join us. And we're giving Steve, he's been replaced by an easel. So Steve, you can sit down. Old man Kanalakis. From the time he took office 12 years ago, Councillor Qadri has had a vision for a better future for Ottawa as it grows and develops. Councillor Qadri is proud of his time chairing Crime Prevention Ottawa and the Ottawa Public Health Board, and in particular he's proud of the what OPH achieved its status as an independent board under his watch. Mindful that Stittsville was in a period of transition, Councillor Qadri remained on the Planning Committee throughout his time as councillor, as he believed this would be the best way to influence Stittsville's evolution from a rural to a suburban ward. Councillor Qadri is especially proud of his work with smarter suburbs, his development of a community design plan to protect Stittsville Main Street, and serve as a blueprint for development in the widening of Hazeldean Road. He has also been a strong supporter for the expansion of LRT and was instrumental in the completion of the environmental assessment for LRT to Canada and Stittsville. As Stittsville continues to grow, Councillor Qadri is proud to know that the residents will benefit from the Carp River restoration, the expansion of the Goulburn Recreation Complex, and the preservation of Shea Road Woods. Today, we are presenting Councillor Qadri with a photo of Shea Road Woods, something he worked tirelessly on. He lobbied me nonstop to get that done, but it is going to be one of your many lasting legacies of a better Stittsville for future generations. Thank you, Shad, for being such a great colleague.
Good morning, everyone. Bon matin à tous et à toutes.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Steve, for being such a great Vanna White this morning. You know, where do you start on your last day at council? Council that you love. Serving people, which becomes your passion. In my case, you start by thanking individuals that make that effort every day on behalf of the City of Ottawa and our communities. At Planning Committee, I did mention that we're 23 different wards. I didn't say separate, but different. Each ward, each portion of the city is unique and has unique characters and values. And these ladies and gentlemen that you see sitting beside me, around me, behind me, serve the city well in their own wards. Because that is how you make a city a strong city, by making each individual portion of this city stronger individually, but together in this council, working together to make a great city. If you look behind me, there's those pieces of granite. It's the reflection of putting the amalgamated city together, the municipalities coming together. And that's what this council has done over its you know, in my case, 12 years. Putting city together, but more importantly, treating each piece in their unique way. This council, whether we realize it or not, has accomplished a lot. And as you heard this morning, from citywide projects like the LRT, the Lansdowne Park, among others, including the Ottawa River Action Plan, to each individual portion of the city that each councillor has accomplished in his or her own ward. When you take dedicated people like my colleagues, and more importantly, like staff that this city has, I've heard many times, well, they saw a truck sitting in a corner somewhere and reported into the office, to my office, and said, what is that truck doing out in the boonies with 2 people in it? Well, those are exceptions, and those could be somebody just having lunch or a break. Look at it that way. Don't look at it that the city employee is shirking his or her responsibility. They're not. When you have leadership team that sits around this table every council meeting, you know, people like John Manconi, Kevin Wiley, Janice Burrell, Dan Chenier, Stephen Willis, Rick O'Connor, Steve Kanalakis, Marian Similak. These are all people that care deeply about this city. When I first came into council 12 years ago, one of the things I was informed with and talked about, you can't do this job all by yourself. Depend and rely on the people that are here to serve you and to help you. And these are some of those people that I just mentioned. Along with that, you've got people like Robert Marlowe, Kent Hughes. You know, there are many, many people like this, Chief Bordlow, Chief Ayat. You know, these are the people that help develop and build a city. We can't do it alone. We depend on staff, and the city staff are the best this city has. So thank you for all of your work, ladies and gentlemen, in doing what you do day to day. You know, people say, well, they get paid. Yeah, we all get paid. But we do a job that deserves that pay. And I'm not here to, you know, stand on a sandbox and talk about the remunerations. I'm just here to let you know that how hard the city staff works. You know, over the last 6, 7 months, I've heard many, many complaints about OC Transpo. I ask, myself included in that, put yourself in the shoes of a John Manconi and the city council. Work with these people. And that's what I try to do over the last number of years, is work with people. Great leadership starts at the top. In Mayor Watson, I think we have one of the best mayors that we could have at this time and in previous time, Mayor. Mayor Watson has taken this city, and not just Mayor, but along with the rest of his staff, have taken this city into tomorrow's age. We've become a city where people want to live, people want to move into, and people care about this city. I mean, just yesterday on Give Tuesday, the response that the city provided that shows you that you live in a passionate city. And it's due to leadership that Mayor Watson and his staff provide to this city. This city has a very bright future, a future that more and more people are realizing that this city will continue to grow and will continue to welcome other residents into this great city. In terms of staff, as I mentioned earlier, and staff not only in this area, this hall, but staff down at Centerpoint and staff in other city buildings. I want to make sure I thank them personally today to say thank you very, very much for your service. And if I miss somebody by name, I do apologize. And, you know, that is my fault, and I do apologize for that. But the thanks are still the same to each and every one of those staff employees. As Chair of Crime Prevention Ottawa, I had the privilege of working with Nancy Worsfold and her team. And talk about a dedicated team. That is what Crime Prevention Ottawa is about. We work with our board and we work with our community partners to make this city safer. Another board that I have been proud to chair is Ottawa Public Health. Working with Dr. Etches and her health professionals, it's been my pleasure over the last 4 years to chair that board. And that's a board that helps the city's health going forward. You know, when you talk, as I've been talking so far about people, you couldn't find more dedicated people than those two organizations that I've just mentioned. They're small teams, but they are a very, very powerful team in terms of doing the work that they're assigned to do in this city. As elected officials, we rely upon advice of council. Checking around, looking around this council table, that's exactly what you see, is councillors that are very professional and councillors that are very dedicated. Over the last 12 years, I've had the privilege of sitting beside Councillor Chen. And the last 8 years, been lucky to sit beside Mark Taylor. What a great team those two councillors have represented. They've sort of guided me and gave me some sage advice over the years. So I want to thank them for that. I also want to thank all the chairs of the committees that I sat on, from Planning Committee with Jan Harder to Community and Protective Services Committee with Diane Deans, to Transportation Committees recently under Keith Aglai. These chairs love what they do in their committees as well as City Council. When I first met Jan, what an eye-opener that was. But in a good way. I couldn't believe that Jan, who I ran into and worked with during my retail career, was that voice, that strong voice for her community and for Planning Committee. You know, I went to her, like, I guess it was the first couple of weeks, brought her a file, and said, "What do you think?" I said, "I think this way." And she said, "Well, I really don't care what you think." But you know what about Jen? She found that one piece in that file that we both could agree on, and consequently, we moved the file forward. And that's the role of a council, is to continue to build and develop this city and their communities. I also want to thank my team that has worked with me in my office for the last 12 years. A lot of those people have come and gone, but they moved on to other positions within the city. People like Kyle Anderson, people like Lindsay Valenti, who's moved on after leaving this city, to many others. But to my current team, Georgie Gosham-Hamer, A.S. Stretch, Adrian Charlton, Ruth Chuckland, and my employee that just left me recently, Jessica Breckenridge. Thank you all for what you've done in terms of supporting me. Our jobs are not easy, and they're not easy that it could be done by one person. Thank you for balancing my load over the years. Thank you for serving the community and through my office. I appreciated your support. Lastly, but more importantly, I want to thank my family. My family who supported me from day one, who said, "Shad, community's asking you to represent them. Please accept, and please do a great job or a good job." My comment to them was, thank you. And yes, I'll take your advice and I will represent them. It's about quality of life. And one thing that my family's always done, Teresa, Farzana, and my son Shahid, they've provided me that perfect balance. The balance that says, yeah, today you're this high, tomorrow you're this low, but Dad, don't forget we're here to support you. And those words, at the time, bring you back down to earth and say, continue to do the work that you do and support my work along with my colleagues' work on this council. I said that was my last thank you. I did tell a little fib here. My last and final thank you goes to the people of Stittsville for allowing me the opportunity to represent you and them over these 12 years. You talk about a passionate community. Communities are made up of people. They're not about buildings. They're not about roads. They're about people. And you wouldn't find a better community than the community of Stittsville. Compassionate, passionate, and growing strong. We take pride in the community of Stittsville. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you very much, Councillor Qadri. Our next recipient is Deputy Mayor Mark Taylor, representing Bay Ward. Deputy Mayor Taylor, if you could join us, please. Welcome. Deputy Mayor Taylor was elected to serve the residents of Bay Ward as councillor in the 2010 municipal election. During his 8 years as City Councillor, Mark has always made it a priority to engage with residents and listen to their ideas. One of the highlights was the completion of the berm project in Britannia Village, which had been discussed for close to 40 years. Deputy Mayor Taylor was also a strong voice in the decision of the alignment of the LRT line that travels through Bay Ward. He was a key member of the 100-day solution group that found a way to get LRT past Dominion Station. Councillor Taylor was also our special liaison for housing and homelessness, and his report will guide the new council on ways to reduce homelessness in our city. He is also proud of the renewal that Bay Ward has recently seen, including upgrades and construction at Bayshore Shopping Centre, a massive investment, Wesley Clover Parks, which has been a great success in the West End, a new splash pad at George C. Brown Park in Whitehaven, Bayshore Park, and the Sens Rink of Dreams. Deputy Mayor Taylor was also particularly proud of the opening of Inspiration Park in the Ottawa community housing neighbourhood of Winthrop Park. This was Bay Ward's first new park in approximately 20 years. As a tribute to Mark, and as I mentioned about Bob Manette, the Deputy Mayor's job is you don't see it all the time, but a very, very busy workload, given the fact that I think last year we received close to 5,100 invitations in my office. So you can imagine trying to go through all of those, and with the help of Bob and Mark, it made certainly life much easier. And today we're presenting you, Mark, with a photo of Inspiration Park that you work very hard on, and you should be very proud of. Thank you for your years of service.
They brought Steve Kandelakis an easel. That was a sure sign we were all talking too long. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much, and to my council colleagues. I know the way this podium is, you're all behind me, but I want to thank each and every one of you for the opportunity to have worked together these past 8 years. This has truly been a gift. The over almost a decade that we have spent together, at no time, no matter how contentious the file, no matter how challenging the day was, did I ever feel like I was getting up and going to work. I thank each and every one of my council colleagues for that. You made working together meaningful, and I thank each of you. Even when we disagreed, we found a way to do it without being disagreeable. So when we agreed, and even when we didn't, we made progress, and I thank you for that. I also want to thank, they're not obviously in the room, but I did have the opportunity over my time on council to work with many other elected officials across the province of Ontario through the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. And our communities all across this province are well served by dedicated community servants that I had the opportunity to get to know, many of them, and each and every one of them is a blessing to their community. I want to thank my wife, Christine, and my daughters, Emily and Sasha. They've supported me with love, with insight, with wisdom, with compassion as I've worked for the people of Bay Ward and the City of Ottawa. More than with moral support, more than with their understanding and their forgiveness, did they take many, many evenings away and commitments, family commitments cut short as we had to deal with a resident problem or something they needed a solution or a file that needed to be moved forward. I want to thank them for their understanding. I couldn't have done this without them. These roles demand a lot from elected representatives, and more than most people know, but families know it and they live it. So to my family, thank you very much. I owe a debt of thanks to all the staff that have worked with me over the years. Steve, Patrick, Chantal, Dan, Ivy, Jody, Sarah, Fatty, Ryan, Dylan, Jake, and Emily, as well as many, many other dedicated community volunteers. Each and every one of you have solved problems on behalf of residents. You've helped them, you've made lives better, and you've helped build our community as well. Thank you very much for helping people. To the City of Ottawa staff, Steve and his entire leadership team, and all of the dedicated women and men of this corporation, thank you. You made reality out of the decisions that we made here at this table. To Rick O'Connor, to the clerk's office team, including Andrew Lomas and Michael McKee, thank you for all of your support. You helped us not just navigate through this place, but also find the successes we were looking for on behalf of our residents. I am very proud of every accomplishment, improvement, and renewal I got to play a role in delivering across Bay Ward and across Ottawa, and I love the picture. Inspiration Park was one of those things which you probably don't see as you drive across the ward, but it was a hugely important thing to that community, and so I got to play a role in many of those things, and it was a very, very special and rewarding opportunity. But it wasn't possible without the help of Bay Ward residents. So I want to thank the residents of our community for letting me work for them and letting me work with them these past 8 years. The biggest gift this job has given me is the chance to see real community heroes in action. The quiet ones across our community who help in homework clubs, in community food cupboards, in homeless shelters, and community houses, to the ones that lead big public campaigns to raise funds and awareness for causes like poverty, like mental health, like affordable housing, and building an even more equitable and more engaged and more resilient Ottawa. Whether you're here with an advocacy group or you've come on behalf of a community project, I want to thank all the folks who came and spoke with me over these past 8 years to help contribute to making the community a better place. In 2010, I committed that if I was elected, I would serve only 2 terms as Bay Ward Councillor, and thanks to my family, our team, lots of partners, and too many residents to count, we have packed those 8 years with progress. We were never going to be done. This is a relay race, and there's always more to do. And the moment we walked into our offices in December of 2010, I knew that there would be just as much work on the desk the day we walked out. But if we did our job right, it wouldn't be the same work. And it isn't. To our incoming Bay Ward Councillor, Councillor Kavanagh, I wish you good luck. My hopes are for 4 years filled with meaningful work representing our community and helping Bay Ward and Ottawa residents. Mayor, colleagues, and friends, thank you for all that we did together. Christine, Emily, and Sasha, thank you for lending our family to this service these last 8 years. I love you very much. I'm coming home. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Taylor. Our next recipient is Councillor David Chernyshenko, representing Capital Ward. Councillor Chernyshenko could please join us. Heather. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
Yep. Councillor Chernyshenko was elected as councillor for Capital Ward in 2010, and as chair of the city's Environment Committee, Councillor Chernyshenko has advocated for numerous environmental initiatives such as the Urban Forest Management Plan, a better contract for housing organics, and various cycling and active transportation initiatives such as the O'Connor Street segregated bike lane and the Western Rideau River pathway. Councillor Chernyshenko was also conceived of and lobbied for and saw the completion of Phase 1 of the Energy Evolution, Ottawa's renewable energy transition strategy. He was instrumental in the Main Street renewal, the first conversion of a high-speed, car-dominated street to a complete street that balances the needs of all users. Il a joué une partie clé dans le renouvellement de la.
He was instrumental in the Main Street renewal, the first conversion of a high-speed, car-dominated street.
The orders of government to bring the Flora Footbridge project to fruition, connecting the Glebe with Old Ottawa East. Today, we are presenting Councillor Chernyshenko with a photo of the Bank Street Bridge and the Rideau Canal. We probably would have wanted to give you one of the Flora Footbridge, but it's still under construction. It wouldn't look that nice. I think this bridge looks nicer. But David, thank you very, very much for your years of service to your citizens and to your city. Bravo. Félicitations.
Well, Mr. Low-Tech is going to try and go high-tech here, so things may work out. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Steve, council colleagues. Let me start with some all-important thank yous. To my staff over 8 years, and this may sound like a long list, but I can assure you it's not the longest list of councillors. This is a tough job, and anyone who makes it through a couple of years, let alone many, will know that. And yet, we as councillors could not even do a 100th of what we accomplish without our staff and without city staff. They do the screening of tasks, they do the triage, they do the one-on-one work with so many people, and thereby allowing councillors to focus on the things that we're particularly elected to do and which only a councillor can do. So I do want to name them individually. Thank you so much to Anne LeMay, Pierre Sadik, Catherine Henry, Sarah Lindsay, Michael Kakish, strange but true, Joanna Linsang and Koch, Justin Stratton, Natalie Mazet, John Connor, Angela Plant, Michael Reed, Ian Gerbina, and my 6-year veteran, Sarah Loomis. Also, Anouk Hudeman for her communications advice. I want to thank city staff for your professionalism, your dedication, and I don't think it's wrong to say your friendship. I want to thank City Hall Media for playing your critical role. A healthy democracy needs you. And in a time of ongoing media convergence, of fake news, we need real people communicating, doing real reporting and analysis. That's a critical function of democracy, and I thank you for continuing to do that, even when, on occasion, we don't agree. And of course, to my wife, Marie-Odile, the political widow, la veuve politique, in her words, not mine. And to my children, Eric, Gaia, and Anna. And now for something completely different. As I say, now for something completely different, because this is the only chance I'm going to get. What I'm holding is a magic wand. And my laptop better stay here. Not just any magic wand, though. No, this is a municipal magic wand. It says right here on the label, municipal magic wand. But it also says, not suitable for use on Lansdowne redevelopment, which sort of dates the wand, doesn't it? It was given to me as a Christmas gift by my staff, a homemade wand, partway through my first year, because they had heard me say so many times, if only I had a magic wand. Veteran councillors will know what I mean. We all land here at City Hall full of vim and vinegar and certainty, but we discover far too quickly that we are not issued a magic wand. We get plenty of advice on process, we get a nice big office, we get a staff budget, we get free parking, we get a Presto card, and a pretty decent salary. But when it comes to actually accomplishing what we came here to do, to making good on our promises and bringing about the change we want to see, well, there is no magic wand. There is hard work, there is focus, there is teamwork. But, and work with me now, but what if there was a magic wand? Well, apart from doing harm to each other with our lousy aim and accidental crossfire, apart from putting a confounding spell on the city treasurer, on the city manager, on the mayor, and perhaps Serge Arpin, what could we do if we had a magic wand that actually worked? Starting in Capital Ward, for dangerous drivers and cyclists and pedestrians, Evanesco, be gone. Oh, I forgot the part about with apologies or thanks to J.K. Rowling, but you'll know that. To summon the bike lanes I have not found room for on Bank Street and Billings Bridge, Axio. To the builders of bunkhouses and oversized infill, Expelliarmus. Now moving on to the city as a whole, to reduce poverty and homelessness and mental illness, diminuendo. Against the opioid epidemic and the spread of Lyme disease, arresto momentum. To protect our communities against floods, tornadoes, and fires, protego maximus. Against any future pest attacks on our trees and our urban forest, repellio. To cut carbon emissions ahead of schedule, reducio. To summon the opening of the Confederation line by March, apparicium. For city staff and council, to rapidly expand the stock of housing that is healthy, efficient, and truly affordable, engorgio. To defend against magical promises about incinerating waste with no pollution, finite incantatum, and to counter any delusions that you can end congestion by widening roads, ridiculous. To offer a circle of protection around City Hall against all manner of dark magic and dark arts, salvio hexia. To show the new councillors how to work together for the good of the city and remind the veterans too, lumos. And something that's been my motto all along, knowing that you are just one councillor out of 23 in one ward out of 23, that you do not get anything done without building bridges. I say, with apologies to any Latin teacher, I just made this up, Pontus Constructus. And finally, for me and everyone else, for the best ever skating season on the Rideau Canal, Glacius. Thank you to all. It's been an honor, even without a magic wand.
Well done. All right, Michael Caucus, you got to follow that now. Please welcome the councillor representing Gloucester South Nepean Ward, Michael Caucus. Councillor Caucus was first elected in the last municipal election, has worked as our special liaison for refugees. Le conseiller Caucus a fait un travail important.
He has done wonderful work during this term of council in his role as special liaison for refugee.
Which help coordinate between various levels of government and non-governmental organizations to provide housing, language training, health services, and employment opportunities, resulting in the integration of close to 3,000 Syrian refugees who now call Ottawa their home. In his Barrhaven community, Councillor Caucus was a strong advocate for investments in local infrastructure like Prince of Wales, Greenbank, and Chapman Mills, and he also saw through the completion of the Barrhaven Rail Safety Program. In Finley Creek, Councillor Caucus was instrumental in advancing the widening of Bank Street by more than 5 years. He is also proud of the opening of Little Rock, Creekview, and Anishi parks. And in Riverside South, Michael helped secure land and funding for a new community center, library, and pool, and was also involved in the creation of the Riverside South Farmers Market. Councillor Caucus was also a strong voice to bring light rail to all 3 of these communities. And today, we are presenting Councillor Caucus with a photo of the Chapman Mills Conservation Area in Vimy Ridge, a beautiful part of his ward. Michael, thank you for your years of service. Félicitations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and City Manager Steve Kanellakis, Ward 22 resident as well. David, can I borrow that magic wand? No? It's a great honor and a pleasure to be here and to address colleagues and city staff and my parents watching on YouTube at home. You know, I've been at City Hall for about 10 years now. Believe it or not, I started when I was 23 years old as a city staffer. Worked in my predecessor's office for 4.5 years, and I remember very vividly that call that I got at the time from Christine Taylor, actually, who happens to be Mark Taylor's wife. She called me up. I was on the Hill, working on Parliament Hill, and I loved it there. I was a recent grad, just finished a contract with Mayor Watson, who was a provincial minister at the time, and then I went to work on the Hill for an MP. And Christine knew that my contract was coming up, and she said, what are you doing after that? And I said, I don't know, I'll probably find something here. I like working on the Hill, and I like federal politics. And she said, you know, I just started at City Hall. Would you be interested in coming and working here? And I said, I don't know anything about City Hall. I don't know who the councillors are. I don't know anything about municipal politics. And she said, well, why don't you come try it out? And if you like it, you'll stay on. And if you don't, you can leave after your probation period. And so 10 years later, more than 10 years later, I'm still here. And I've loved every minute of it. And the main reason I stayed here is because I love this organization. I love the people that make up this organization, from our city manager all the way at the top to all the city staff all through this chain. And as many of my colleagues already spoke about earlier, without the city staff and the amazing work that they do day in and day out, we wouldn't be able to accomplish anything. And I think of all the projects that we've worked on in the 4 short years that the mayor referenced, infrastructure upgrades that we work closely with the South End councillors on. Bank was not in the books till 2026, so imagine that. You come in and you think you can't do anything about something for that long of a period of time. Well, we got together, we brought the stakeholders, the landowners, we brought Mr. Manconi, to the table and my colleagues in the South End, George Deroux, and we rolled up our sleeves and we came up with solutions. Community center and library, that wasn't in the books till 2031 when I first got elected. We worked with Urbandale. They provided us with discounted rate for the land we've acquired in the process of getting that land, and that frees up some money for design. So you got to get creative, you got to work hard, and things will happen, but it will take time, and things travel at a slower pace than what we'd like, but things do get done. And undoubtedly, the Syrian refugees, as the mayor pointed out, was one of my most rewarding and satisfying things. Helping integrate those 2,700 Syrian newcomers is without a doubt one of my most rewarding and gratifying things that I've been able to do. Working closely with all the settlement agencies who helped integrate and welcome those people, help them find homes. Many of them are speaking the language and gainfully employed as a result of the work that many of those settlement agencies did in coordination with the city and our city staff. So, over the past 10 years, I see this as an opportunity for me to move on to something else. But unlike our city manager, I may come back at some point if I decide I want to do that. But certainly all options are on the table. I also want to thank my staff who've been here with me for a while, especially Amy, who's been here for several years now. Michael, Paul as well. They've all landed and found jobs except me and Paul, so if you're hiring, you can give us a call. And I want to thank, obviously, the people of Gloucester South Nepean. Without them, they've placed their trust and faith in me. I was a young guy when I ran. I was the youngest on this council. But they had enough faith and confidence in me, and they gave me the opportunity to serve them, and forever I'll be grateful for that opportunity. I've learned a lot of things every day I come into this job. I love it. I wake up in the morning, I'm excited, and I say the most difficult part about the transition is not finding a job, but finding something as gratifying, as rewarding, that you're going to be happy, you're going to be making a difference on a daily basis in someone's life, and everybody around this table knows that. You can impact people's lives on a daily basis, you can make a difference on a daily basis being at the municipal level. Obviously, I want to thank my colleagues. You can't get anything done without a majority of these votes here around the table. Mayor, to you for placing your trust in me and confidence in me as well to take on big files like the refugee file, and to Serge and all of your staff for everything they do behind the scenes. You don't see half of the things that we work on behind the scenes, and the mayor's office and the mayor have been tremendous in helping us. If you ever have a problem, you go to him or Serge or Steve, and that problem gets solved 95% of the time, I'd say. I mentioned my staff and the city staff, obviously, who I've had a tremendous admiration and respect for. To the media, who most of the time was nice to me. Thank you for holding. Joanne's laughing really hard back there. And of course, last but not least, to my family and my loved ones who I couldn't do it without. My mom, my dad, my sister Selena, my brother Marco, for your support. So thank you.
So once again, I sincerely thank each of our outgoing councillors for their exceptional service to our city and our residents, and I extend to each of you our best wishes for the future. Je remercie à nouveau les 7 conseillers.
I sincerely thank each of our 7 outgoing councillors for their exceptional service to our city, our residents. So I extend to each of you my best wishes for the future. Thank you.
Staff members and family and friends of councillors, and I know we have councillors-elect here as well, thank you for coming and sharing time as we presented a small token of appreciation to these 7 individuals, and we thank them for their service. Merci beaucoup. Thanks, Steve, as well. Roll call, please, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Conseiller Manette.
Present.
Councillor Minich.
Present.
Councillor Harder.
Here.
Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor El Shantiri.
Here.
Councillor Qadri.
Present.
Councillor Taylor.
Here.
Councillor Shirelli.
Here.
Councillor Eglai.
Here.
Councillor Deans.
Here.
Councillor Tierney.
Present.
Conseiller Fleury.
Ici.
Councillor Nussbaum. Councillor McKenney.
Present.
Councillor Leeper.
Here.
Councillor Brockington.
Here.
Councillor Chernyshenko.
Présent.
Conseiller Cloutier.
Présent.
Conseiller Blais. Councillor DeRuse.
Here.
Councillor Moffat.
Here.
Councillor Kakish.
Present.
Councillor Hubley.
Here.
Mayor Watson.
You see?
You have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Confirmation of minutes, adoption de procès-verbaux for the 10th of October 2018. Carried. Declaration of interests, including those originally arising from prior meetings. Déclaration de conflit d'intérêts. None. Communications as presented. Regrets. No regrets filed at this time. Motion to introduce reports. Motion portant présentation de rapport. Conseiller DeRuse, seconded by Councillor Wilkinson, please.
That Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee Report 39, Planning Committee Report 72, and the report from the City Clerk and Solicitor's Office entitled Summary of Oral and Written Public Submissions for Items Subject to the Planning Act, Explanation Requirements at the City Council meeting of October 10, 2018 be received and considered, and that the rules of procedure be suspended to receive and table the report from the City Clerk and Solicitor entitled 2018-2022 Council Governance Review, as this report will be considered by the new Council at its meeting on December 5th, 2018.
On the motion, carried. Report, City Clerk and Solicitor, Greffier Municipal et Avocat Général, 2018-2022 Council Governance Review. It's now going to be handed out to members, and the report that we have to, or the recommendation we have is that at its meeting of November 28th, the 2014-18 Council receive and table the 2018-2022 Council Governance Review report, and then recommendation number 2 will be approved by the new Council. So before us is simply the tabling of the document. For members of the new Council, Councillors-elect, at the end of this meeting, we have a hard copy for you, but it'll also be sent to you electronically, and it'll be made available to the public and the media in just a few moments. So receive and table. Carried. Committee reports. Rapport des comités. Planning Committee report number 72. Rapport numéro 72 du Comité de l'Urbanisme. Item 2, Canada Avenue Secondary Plan Amendment and Environmental Assessment. We have a motion from Councillor Wilkinson, seconded by Councillor Harder, that I understand is technical in nature.
Yes,
so Councillor Wilkinson, the floor is yours.
The motion is just to change some of the wording because it impacted a neighboring property. So it is to following amendments to this document on site-specific policy of the staff report. Delete the following text from item 1, section 5.7.5.2. Together with the lands in the Main Street designation and part of the Canada Regional Shopping Centre designation, this area generally corresponds to the town centre designation in the official plan. And delete the following proposed text from item I, section 5.7.5.2, under the subheading phasing, to delete within the Central Business District and Regional Shopping Centre designation. And C, adding a new item to include the existing text from sections 5.7.5.3 in order to indicate that all reference to Main Street within this section are deleted.
Okay, and it's seconded by the Chair of Planning Committee. Any questions or comments? Des questions, commentaires through the technical amendment on the amendment? Carried. On the report as amended? Carried. Item number 3, zoning bylaw amendment, part of 3025 Albion Road North, modification de règlement de zonage une partie de 3025 Chemin Albion Nord. Carried. Item 4, zoning bylaw amendment, 339 Cumberland Street, modification règlement de zonage 339 Rue Cumberland. Carried. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the bulk consent agenda at this time? On the bulk consent agenda as presented, carried. Motion to adopt reports. Motion portant adoption de rapport. Councillor DeRuse, please, seconded by Councillor Wilkinson.
that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee Report 39, Planning Committee Report 72, and the report from the City Clerk and Solicitor's Office entitled Summary of Oral and Written Public Submissions for Items Subject to the Planning Act, explanation required at the City Council meeting of October 10, 2018 be received and adopted as amended.
On the motion, carried. Adopté. Motions requiring suspension of the rules of procedure, motion exigeant la suspension des règles de procédure. The first item is from Councillor Egli and seconded by myself with respect to the timing on the film studio. So on suspension, carried. Councillor Egli, if you'd like to introduce the motion. This is just to maybe give a little bit of background. Just last week at the NCC, the board approved unanimously the lease arrangement for a new soundstage studio in Councillor Egli's ward, which is going to be a very big economic boost to the film, television, and animation business in our city, and this is to help push that process along. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll just quickly run through it because I think the whereases are important. Whereas at their meeting of November 22nd, 23rd, 2018, the Board of Directors of the National Capital Commission approved an amendment to the Greenbelt Master Plan 2013 to permit a soundstage campus and creative hub at 1740 Woodruff Avenue. And whereas the zoning amendment is in the critical path in the project plan, and whereas it is appropriate that direction be provided as soon as possible to planning, infrastructure, and economic development staff to begin the city-fed zoning bylaw amendment, therefore be it resolved that the rules of procedure be suspended to permit the introduction of the following motion. Whereas the Ottawa Film Office has secured partnerships to invest $40 million in Ottawa to develop a new soundstage campus and creative hub for the film, television, and animation industry. And whereas Ottawa's film, television, animation industry provides hundreds of skilled jobs to Ottawa residents and contributes over $100 million to the local economy annually. Whereas supporting creative and cultural industries forms part of the city's economic development strategy, and whereas the soundstage campus and creative hub will create approximately 500 jobs during construction and will generate approximately $40 million in new economic activity within the first few years of operation, creating more than 500 new full-time jobs in Ottawa. And whereas the National Capital Commission has undertaken a process of public engagement on locating a film studio and related uses on federal lands within the Greenbelt Research Farm located on the southwest corner of West Hunt Club and Woodruff Avenue. And whereas at their meeting on November 22nd, 23rd, the Board of Directors of the NCC approved an amendment to the Greenbelt Master Plan 2013 to permit a soundstage campus and creative hub at 1740 Woodruff Avenue. And whereas as part of the same proposal, the NCC Board approved an amendment to the Greenbelt Master Plan 2013 to designate the former Capital Golf Center at 3798 Bank Street as a natural link area with the intention of renaturalizing this Greenbelt parcel. And whereas there's a need for the city to bring its zoning bylaw into alignment with the federal land use decision. Be it resolved, therefore, the Council approve, 1, that the Planning, Infrastructure, and Economic Development Department be directed to bring forward to Planning Committee in accordance with the notice requirements of the Planning Act, a city-initiated zoning bylaw amendment to permit a soundstage campus and creative hub with related office and production uses at 1740 Woodruff Avenue, subject to such performance standards as may be appropriate to align with the exception created within the Greenbelt Master Plan 2013, and 2, that the Planning, Infrastructure, and Economic Development Department be directed to bring forward to Planning Committee in accordance with the notice requirements of the Planning Act, a city-initiated zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the lands at 3798 Bank Street to align with the natural link designation of the Greenbelt Master Plan 2013. So just very briefly, that was a lot of words, but what we have here is an incredibly exciting project. It's a project that the city's engaged in, that the federal government is engaged in, the NCC is engaged in, and it's going to take film and animation in Ottawa to a whole new level. We have some of the world's leaders in animation right now. We're going to bring them all together under the same roof. We're going to add to that We're going to create new jobs. We're going to create new revenue for the city. This is one of the most exciting projects I've been involved with since elected. So I would ask for, this is a simple motion, and I hope you all support it because it's the first major step forward that the city can take to move this project ahead and build on that momentum that, again, is going to create a massive cultural and animation hub for our city. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cloutier is our representative on the Film Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Merci énormément, Monsieur le Maire. And,
thank you very much.
Yes, I do have the privilege of representing the city on the Ottawa Film Office, and I want to point out Bruce Harvey, who's here in the audience, our Ottawa Film Commissioner, who works very hard to facilitate and to bring production to Ottawa, and this will help the Ottawa Film Office's job. Je voulais absolument offrir mon appui.
I want to absolutely support Councillor Eglai's motion, seconded by Mayor Watson. Is very exciting for the city. It's a beautiful partnership between the NCC, Tri-Road, and the Film Office.
It has to turn away about $260 million of production work on an annual basis, and we'd like a part of that here in Ottawa, and this investment will bring it. Cet investissement va amener plus.
This investment will bring more productions to Ottawa, and also live productions.
Les activités créatives vont supporter le tourisme, déjà une industrie très importante en.
Will support a very important industry in our community. Our objective is to increase the sales by 40% to 100 million.
And the economic activity by 40% in the first year. So, chers collègues,
so, dear colleagues, I would appreciate your support for this motion, as well as in the future when this project will evolve. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Est-ce qu'il y a des autres questions ou commentaires?
Any other questions or comments?
Carried. Thank you, councillors. The next motion requiring suspension of the rules is by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Eglai, with respect to a park naming on suspension. Carried. Councillor Taylor, if you'd like to introduce the motion, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, colleagues, for engaging me on this over the past month. I bring a park naming today for a park in my ward that just has a place name. It's named because it's on a street. And this motion is to commemoratively name the park after a long-standing Ottawa and West End volunteer. Whereas Marlene Catterall has served the community of Michelle Heights as a volunteer, as City Alderman and Regional Councillor representing Britannia Ward 1976 to 1985, and as the Member of Parliament for Ottawa West Nepean 1988-2006, and whereas from the early 1970s as a member and then chair of the Citizens Committee for the Pinecrest Queensway Neighbourhood Planning Study, she became familiar with all the neighbourhoods in the West End area, including and particularly Michelle Heights and its unique needs. And whereas Marlene saw the need for more integrated social services in the area, including community health services, organizing the first meeting of the local service providers to start the process towards establishing a multi-service centre. And whereas as City Alderman, Marlene worked with residents to plan the Michelle Heights Recreation Centre in Michelle Park, a centre that still meets the needs of a community that has grown in diversity. And whereas in support of the community surrounding the park, in addition to the community centre, Marlene and others launched restaurant and clothing store businesses that today we would define as social enterprises for the good of the community and the employees. And whereas Marlene's ongoing efforts to support the Michelle Heights and wider community today in engaging civic participation, growing the representation of women in community leadership, and strengthening community bonds are exemplary. And whereas members of the community and organizations of community support have come forward to request recognition of Marlene Catterall, and whereas the city's commemorative naming policy approved by Council on July 24, 2002 outlines the criteria and process for commemoratively naming municipal streets, parks and facilities or parts thereof, and provides for Council to assign a commemorative name by resolution in keeping with its powers set out in the Municipal Act. Whereas the name Marlene Catterall has been vetted through emergency services and does not pose any concerns with respect to name duplication, therefore be it resolved that City Council approve that Michelle Park, located at 2955 Michelle Drive, be named Park Marlene Catterall Park. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Est-ce qu'il y a des questions, commentaires?
Any questions or comments?
On the motion, carried. Thank you, councillors. Our final motion requiring suspension of the rules is also a naming, and it's by Councillor Wilkinson and Qadri on suspension. Carried. Councillor Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved the rules of procedure be suspended to consider the following motion as it is the final meeting of the 2014-2018 term of council. Whereas Mario Poirier was the informal guardian of Beaver Pond Park for more than 20 years, installing protective wiring fences around trees to protect them from beavers with assistance from members of the Ottawa Duck Club, keeping the park clean and leading groups to learn about the environment of the area. And whereas Mario collaborated with the City of Ottawa foresters to create an arboretum in Beaver Park by identifying existing trees and arranging for plantings of missing trees, as well as attaching numbers to the trees for identification purposes. Whereas Mario created a chart naming 44 species of trees in English, French, and Latin, and made it available on the Ottawa Duck Club website so that anyone could access the information. Whereas Mario assisted Councillor Marianne Wilkinson in providing a sign to the park, providing the information on the chart of 44 tree species, as well as assisting in finding the least intrusive ways to provide drainage from the planned Canada Lakes Marchwood Lakeside lands to the pond. And whereas Mario passed away suddenly on September 17th, the day before he was to take another school group on a tour of the park and arboretum. Whereas members of the community have requested that Mario's volunteer and selfish contributions are recognized and favored by having the arboretum that he was instrumental in creating commemoratively named after him. And whereas the city's commemorative naming policy approved by Council on July 24, 2002 outlines the criteria and process for commemoratively naming municipal streets, parks, and facilities or parts thereof, and provides for Council to assign a commemorative name by resolution in keeping with its power set out in the Municipal Act. And whereas the name Mario Poirier has been vetted through the applicable city departments, including emergency services, such as not pose any concerns with respect to name duplication. Therefore, be it resolved that City Council approve the Arboretum located within the Beaver Pond Park, 243 Walden Drive, Ward 4, Canada North, be named the Arboretum Mario Poirier Arboretum.
Right. Thank you, Councillor. Are there any questions or comments on the motion?
Carried.
On the motion, carried. Adopté. Merci. Notice of the motion for consideration at subsequent meetings. Motion to introduce bylaws. Councillor DeRuse, please. Seconded by Councillor Wilkinson.
That the bylaws listed on the agenda under motion to introduce bylaws 3 readings be read and passed.
On the motion, carried. Confirmation bylaw. Councillor DeRuse and Wilkinson, please.
Que le règlement suivant soit lu et
that the following bylaw be read and passed to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting of November 28, 2018.
Carried.
Carried.
Written inquiries, Madam Deputy Clerk. None. Adjournment. Councillor DeRuse and Councillor Wilkinson.
Que la délibération du Conseil du 28
that the proceedings of the City Council meeting of November 2018 be adjourned.
Councillors' lounge. It will be served right now. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
really take off and open up some room. We've seen Ottawa open up the big room. Now does somebody else open up some more room on the rest of the opponents, or are we going to stay jumbled 2-9? It makes things pretty exciting rather than some years where by now we've seen the conferences really lay out. But 2-9 right now in the East, it's just jumbled right up, and hey, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, a little bit of parity and competition is never a bad thing for the fans, for sure. You mentioned scoring in there, Terry. A couple of overage players leading the league in scoring right now, and for them coming at a good time in their careers as they try to earn pro deals next season.
Well, absolutely. Look at Kevin Hancock and Owen Sound, for example, a player who's been around, put in his time in the Ontario Hockey League, and now putting up big numbers for that Attack club, as they're a club that's looking to, you know, get more consistent in the Western Conference. They went on a 3-game winning streak, then a 3-game losing streak, but Hancock putting up big numbers, and it's good to see when an overage player gets that chance to maybe be a bit more of a late bloomer and open things up.